dear God. Honkai Star Rail hired a PR disaster as a voice actor. Chris Niosi. Dude, I know so much about this. It's insane. Dude, this is so ridiculous. There's over 8 billion people on Earth, and Hoyoverse decides to hire a guy who has a admitted history of sexual abuse rather than, I don't know, the other 7.9 plus billion people on Earth. No wonder voice acting is such a boys club when people will turn a blind eye to shitbag behavior like this just because it happened a long time ago. Okay, why don't we choose somebody who it never happened to? It's kind of that easy.
Not having done enough of a background check is not an excuse this time.
True.
God, this is such a mess.
True.
On July 18th, Honkai Star Rail, which is a massive gacha game made by the same developer of Genshin Impact, which is Hoyoverse, made this tweet, which is showing off a character that will be releasing in the upcoming updates. This is something they do all the time. It's called drip marketing. It's to build hype, and they keep building hype up until the character comes out. In this case, the character's name is Mose, and he's a 4-star. There's usually a quote of the character, and then a little description of who they are. Things got tricky though, when people saw who the English voice was. Chris Niosi. But not everyone was really aware. I would even say it's in the minority. Many in the comments are very hyped, are praising the character's design, but there are some, like this one right here, saying, so just Google his English voice actor, just wow Hoyo. Okay, let's Google him. Chris Niosi. Okay, great. Well, here's the thing. You scroll down and you go to page 2, you will find a Tumblr post in which he apologized.
Yeah, but it wasn't page 1. Nobody ever clicks page 2. Let's be real. I only click the first search result. Going down an extra page, that's a lot of work. What is this, my job? Well, for these people, yes, it actually is their job.
For committing heinous things towards his ex-partners, colleagues, and friends over the course, in his own words, over the course of 10 years. We're talking abuse.
Page 2 is like the deep web for me, true.
Stalking, harassment, manipulation, you name it. And it's all self-admitted by himself. This used to be on the first page of Google. I'm not even joking, but it got replaced because of this Reddit post. And this leads me to the other aspect of this mess, which is such an implosion. The case of Chris is special because in this case, we have 2 high-profile voice actors from Honkai Star Rail and from the English dubbing community, and they both have come out to talk about this while having completely differing opinions.
Jesus.
One day after the announcement of the character, a very well-renowned voice actor by the name of Alejandro Saab,
yeah, this shit really freaked me out because I thought Alejandro was immediately going to jump into the defense of Chris Niosi. I don't believe he did that.
aka Sayu, which is his VTuber persona, said that he just got back on Twitter and that he was going to have a serious talk on stream regarding this. It was very emotional, and he even ended up breaking down crying over this.
Really?
I thought this was going to be the peak. It wasn't going to get worse than this. Guess what? The voice actor for...
Wait.
I thought this was going to be the peak. It wasn't going to get worse than this. Guess what? The voice...
I never saw this. Wait, he said he thought he already made up with the victims. The Sayu shit was hella scary. Yeah, it's in the VOD. Wait, was Kagi in defense of this dude? No. Okay, he just didn't know the situation. Oh yeah, that shit is fucked up.
Voice actor for Sunday, someone you definitely know if you played Honkai Star Rail, and who doesn't use social media and stays off of Twitter except for professional reasons, made a Reddit post on r/Honkai Star Rail talking about this exact controversy. This post is currently sitting at 1,400 upvotes. It used to be higher, but it's been getting downvoted. And it was the first time many people were even hearing of this, okay? This is very serious because unlike the whole Diluc voice actor accusations, where there were holes in the story and many people found it hard to make up their opinion on it unless more proof came out, this right here is so different because Chris himself had made a post admitting to everything in his own words. And it is slowly making the entire community implode within itself. Let's talk about it. Christopher Edwin Niosi, otherwise known as Kerbifer online, is an accomplished voice actor, and he was in some pretty high-profile roles like Arataka Reagan from Mob Psycho 100. Additionally,
The English one, guys. Okay, that's why you don't watch the English one, okay? You watch the Japanese one.
he voiced the main character in Fire Emblem Three Houses under Nintendo and had many other high-profile roles like Final Fantasy VII, Naruto Shippuden, etc. He was an accomplished voice actor by all means.
What
However,
the fuck?
all of that came crashing down in
That's why you play as the female, guys. Easy.
2019 when Chris was 30 years old. Overnight, many of his high-profile roles were immediately replaced with other voice actors, and he was pretty much excommunicated from the industry. This was a very big deal in the voice acting community. Nintendo didn't want to work with him anymore because he showed off the fact that he got cast in Fire Emblem in his Discord when he wasn't supposed to.
If they replace his voice actor with Zach Aguilar again, that would be so funny.
But all the other roles he lost weren't because of that. They were because of a way more concerning problem. The real trigger for this entire controversy. But what has the ability to make someone as skilled as Chris to lose out on all these roles overnight? Well, it all started on Tumblr. Zero Incorporated made this post with the title, Chris Kerbifer Niosi is an emotionally abusive asshole, on July 16th, 2019. And this was, with no exaggeration, the beginning of the end for Chris, his career, and his reputation. Let's read. Chris Niosi is abusive and people need to know the truth about him. My name is Amy and I am, hopefully, his last ex-girlfriend. I dated him from September 2017 to April 2019 and it was a miserable experience to say the least. I try to be an open-minded person with an even more open heart, but that was a waste of effort because this man is a piece of shit, and it is entirely his choice to be one. I knew Chris Niosi for several years, but I'm not going into the full history of our relationship. What matters is how he treats women behind closed doors and that he shouldn't be able to keep getting away with it. Overall, he was a shitty boyfriend, but sucking at dating isn't a crime, so I'm only going to talk about the things people deserve to know about him. She's pretty much saying like, yeah, dude, listen, he does suck at dating, all right? This is a fact, but it shouldn't be enough of a reason to hate him. So let me say what the things he actually did wrong. All right, let's get into it. So, number one, Chris Niosi has obvious anger management problems and would snap and blow up at the smallest things. He would tell me that's just how I am, and that I needed to deal with it. I hated playing Smash with him because I would win most of the time, and he would rage and scream at the top of his lungs. Near the end of our relationship, I was fearful of his meltdowns every day. Point two, he would try to manipulate me whenever I told him I had an issue with his behavior. I would tell him things like, I have to walk on eggshells around you, and he would turn it around and say, but I'm walking on eggshells around you, to try to make me out to be the bad guy. He always tried to avoid taking responsibility for shitty things he's done. Point three, Chris Niosi had no respect for my bodily autonomy. I have a full-time job, and when I came home from work, my only request was that he wouldn't jump on me the second I walked in. All I wanted was a little time to decompress from the day and get a shower, but he would grope me every single day despite my protest. I told him to please not do that many, many times. He would pout and argue and continue doing it anyway. Point four. Chris Niosi lied to me twice about how often he was communicating with his ex-girlfriend. I never had a problem with their friendship to begin with, and he told me, without any questioning on my part, that they only talked once a month. I eventually found out that was a bold-faced lie, and he was speaking to her every single day of our relationship. He claimed he didn't realize how often he was talking to her. Who would believe such nonsense? He was intentionally hiding this from me, and also probably her. I believe she was not aware of what he was doing either. Point five, I asked him to set boundaries.
Here's what I don't get about people who stay in relationships when they're able to compile 12-page bullet points on why a person's a piece of shit. Because for me, if I get one of those bullet points, I just leave. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to ever be in a relationship where I have to have 12 bullet points on why someone's a piece of shit. I'd rather just do one than say, okay, well, yeah, I think I'm good, man. I'll be real. I ain't trying to fix nobody. That's a full-time job. Me personally, I'm good.
Boundaries with his ex, and he battled me so much that I asked him to cut contact completely. He fought tooth and nail to keep talking to her despite how much this shit was damaging me, and he even called me the unreasonable one. She contacted him one day out of the blue, and he came to my office to take me out to lunch, only to keep me hostage in front of my office building that I must give him my blessing to respond to her. He refused to take no as an answer and was shouting at me. I felt forced to say yes, even though I truly did not want to, or else he would continue making a scene in front of my workplace. Wow, dude, okay. Point 6. He complained anytime I wanted some time to myself. He gets so much more free time than me, and whenever I wanted some damn space, he would constantly try to butt in and gripe that I'm not spending time with him. I explained to him several times that I should be allowed to have just a tiny ounce of solitude, never listened. He was also jealous of my friends and would whine anytime I wanted to hang out with them without him. According to Chris, my world had to absolutely revolve around him and never deviate.
This one isn't really like a super weird one. There's a lot of people who just want to spend all their time with their partner. I think he's done enough really bad, demonstrably bad shit to not hyperfixate on like the petty gripes.
Point 7. He once physically manhandled me in front of my friends at a get-together because I wanted to get a drink. I stood up and he forcefully pushed me back down and scolded me in full view of my friends. I was extremely embarrassed.
Yeah, like, see, that shit's like a big one. This 6th one is like nothing. This one is just fucking insane. Like, oh yeah, he physically assaulted me in front of my friends and then screamed me. And then also, your friends just did nothing. I'm gonna be real, bro. You probably have shit friends. I'm gonna be real. You know what I'm saying? Like, you get better friends.
Point 8. Chris Niosi made.
How does somebody do that to you? And then you, okay, well, you know, I mean, abuse victims, surely. But all I'm saying is, that to me is like, okay, yeah, I'm done. Yeah, me personally, I'm good.
It extremely difficult for me to get to know his friends. I clicked with some of them and others I needed more time to hit things off. But that was a problem for Chris. He would argue with me every time we came home from seeing his friends that I wasn't trying hard enough and not talking enough. So many arguments. I could not for the life of me understand why he got so upset that I didn't meet his bizarre standards for communicating with his friends. It made every encounter with them more and more stressful to the point that I was too afraid to see them anymore. They did nothing wrong. This was entirely on him. Point 9. Worst of all, Chris.
Yeah, I'm gonna be real. I see somebody do that to my friend, I'm knocking them the fuck out. Just to be completely honest. Or at least putting them in a chokehold. I'll be real. Like, don't abuse your partners. It's really that easy, you know? Like, at least throw them to the ground. Like, come on, man. Tell somebody, do something. See something, say something. See something, do something.
Last year. He even tried to tell a friend that he had implied permission from me when confronted about it, which is absolutely not true. That only gave me confirmation he knew exactly what he was doing.
What the fuck?
Thankfully, I was aware at the time to tell him to back off, but it disturbs me to this day that he saw me being drunk on my birthday as an opportunity.
Okay, that's
Chris
freaky as
Niosi is
fuck.
a bad person and he knows it. He would tell me he was just simply oblivious to all his wrongdoings, but I refused to believe it. He doesn't get to claim ignorance and abuse women. Everything was intentional. I decided I had enough and moved on, and he tried every trick in the book to manipulate me into staying. After I broke up with him, he couldn't even respect me enough to give me distance. He was aggressive about taking me out to dinner and asked me out at least 3 times in the week after I dumped him, and he also had the audacity to ask me to be friends with benefits. Oh my god. No respect, no remorse. He knew exactly what he was doing at every turn. He chooses to be an asshole and will continue to do so until he dies. This man will never change. It's who he is, and he clearly prefers it that way.
So first thing, bro needs to masturbate more to become control of his own person. Second of all, this is the reason why people like to fuck kids, because they're easy to manipulate and they can, you know, get them to do whatever. This is why power dynamic people, manipulative people like this, people who are willing to scold and treat you like shit, that's why these people are fucked up. And I really don't understand how anybody who would have read this decided to do, hey, you know what, let's make him voice one of our characters in this video game. Yep. Really fucking bad. This is crazy ass shit. And listen, man, I'm all for a comeback story, a hero coming to justice story. But I'll be real. This isn't an anime. This is not a cartoon. I would rather just somebody who hasn't done weird shit rather than somebody who's done weird shit. And well, maybe he's pretty good now. I'm good. Personally, I'm good.
She then ends the statement by saying this: I have absolutely no reason to make this up. None. But you don't have to take my word for it. Just maybe consider the many words of many people when they say Chris Kerberfer Niosi is an abusive man who will continue to use and abuse other people. He needs to come clean about all the horrible things he has done. To those who want to give him another chance and hope to see him better himself, I sincerely wish you the best. I know I tried. Thank you for reading. Yeah, That's a lot to take in, right? See, this is why these things are so nasty, because you're pretty much being pushed into a private relationship of two people and are seeing all the ugly things that happen there.
Yeah.
But granted, this isn't enough to take someone down. Not anymore, at least. People
know,
these
right?
days require more proof than just he said, she said.
Very fair.
This is why many people...
And I want to make that very clear. That's a good thing. Proof should be required for everything, because when it's not, when no proof is required, it is very dangerous.
Chose to not believe the person accusing the Diluc voice actor of committing the things they were accusing them of. There have been too many cases in the last few years where someone claims something and gets proven wrong, even after having done so much damage to the...
I hate when people want evidence on rape allegation accusations. Why would anybody lie about that shit? There's other content creators that you can enjoy. I hope you stand with the victim, not the abuse. I totally understand where he's coming from, but this is kind of the same thing as little kids who believe in communism, right? Like in theory, oh yeah, communism's great. Everybody gets, and I use this example quite a lot. Oh, communism's great. Everybody gets everything equally. Well, the thing is, there's power imbalances and there's bad people, so that doesn't always happen, right? You know what sounds really funny? Accuse someone of some horrible shit. That way you ruin their fucking life by just saying they did this to me. That's why proof is very important, because guys, I'm going to blow your mind. There are bad people in this world, and there are people who are delusional, who are willing to make up or say anything just because they want your career to be over. Sorry. Yep. Sorry. That's just how it goes, man.
Person they're accusing. And let's be real here. Who in 2019 would have seen this Tumblr post? Who even uses Tumblr anymore? This wasn't going to end his career outright. What changes everything here, though, as I mentioned before, is the fact that he admitted to all this. The next day, he just came clean. Chris made this post on his Kerbifer account, saying, "It's time that I apologize to all of the people I've hurt." Bear in mind, this post got deleted, right? The only reason you can see it is because it was reblogged by Ultra Eric the Red.
I didn't know
and
that.
Ironically, what shows up on Google on the second page is actually the repost from Eric the Red, right? Like the post itself, if you copy the link and were to go to it, it says it's gone. And it just links you back to Kerbifer's profile. I don't know when he deleted it specifically, but all I know is that you can't find it anymore on his profile. So thank you to Ultra Eric the Red for preserving this piece of evidence. This is a long post, but it's very important for you to understand every word in here, because this is why people are mad. This is why people are very furious at Hoyoverse to have cast him even after 5 years. This is him admitting that he has been a horrible person, not just to Amy, but many other people. He also makes it worse for himself with crazy statements like the first sentence. Let's read. My name is Christopher Niosi, also known as Kerbifer. I am 30 years old, and for about half my lifetime, I have horribly mistreated and abused friends, colleagues, and even my significant others. It is time that I addressed each and every one of those people and responded to their feelings with individual apologies for what I've done to hurt them. This will be a master post containing all of the appropriate posts in one location so that the people they have been written for, along with anyone else who wishes to read them, can easily access the information. I will provide a foreword about everything. My most recent ex-girlfriend Amy and I broke up in April of this year. She decided to cut ties in May, shortly after. Finally, on Saturday of this past weekend, she decided to create a call-out post detailing the emotionally abusive things I did to her throughout our relationship. I decided that the right thing to do was to take responsibility for my actions and respond publicly. I took 2 full days to write an apology to Amy for all of the things I've done and posted it on Monday night. The following morning, I was besieged by Amy, many concerned people who left comments of their own, as well as several of the victims of my abusive behavior in the past, to come clean and apologize to everyone I've hurt. I have finally decided to do so. Before reading any of these, I ask that to anyone and everyone who sees this, including those I'm apologizing to.
But no Hoyoverse staff cast these people. It's another company. And who do you think hired that other company? Try to figure it out. Who do you think hired that other company? Hoyo. There you go. You figured it out.
To please allow me to put some things out there that are likely to come off as selfish, I feel are very important. I know that my decision to do this is inherently going to come off as a PR stunt or some form of damage control. While I can understand why people will think this, I want to assure you that it is not. This is not an attempt to preserve my career or livelihood or my social standings with anybody. I have accepted that by talking about all of these things,
but also,
my life
please
is going
hire
to
me as
change
Moe's.
and there will be consequences. More importantly, this is not an expectancy
I'm not trying to
of
save
any
my
form
career,
of
but
forgiveness
please give me
either,
more career
as I will
opportunities.
be
Please hire me as
stating
Moe's.
many times in several of these apologies that I do not expect any of the following people to forgive me for all I've done. This is about finally, for possibly the first time in my life, doing the right thing. It may also, for the first time in my life, be the first real
You gotta
step.
keep in mind, the context of this post is him being like 30. Like, he's not a little kid. Like, bro's typing this shit like is the bro's like 36 as a voice actor? Like, this post really isn't that old.
I'm taking to
Saying
change
this shit
to become a
At
better
that late as
person.
fuck age is
Guys, bear in mind,
insane.
this is someone who's 30 years old, okay? These statements
I'm glad that we are on the same page here, man, because Jesus Christ.
are coming from someone who's not 20, he is 30 years old, right? You realize how huge this is, right? For someone to
Yes.
say, this is the first time in my life where I'm doing the right thing.
Yep.
And no one forced him to do that. His ex Amy in her statement, everyone who's come out against him over the years, no one has forced him to utter the sentence.
True.
It's such a crazy thing to say. Anyway, he continues. Most of the people I have written these apologies to have had call-out posts regarding their personal negative experiences with me for the last several years, and they have gone publicly unaddressed by me. I also state multiple times in these apologies that I understand full well my choosing to respond to them now as opposed to when they were first posted is far too late and long overdue. There is no denying or excusing that fact, but here, now, I genuinely want to make amends for all of the horrible things I have done. I'm going to share something sensitive that is related to my decision to do this, just as this is not intended to be a PR stunt. What I'm about to say is not in any way fabricated, nor is it meant to manipulate readers or instill any kind of bias. It is simply the truth and I feel is relevant. I have only ever experienced 2 times where I
He's
felt
not actually sorry. He
legitimately
hasn't made this post about his
The
apology.
first time was 5 years ago, the
Absolutely.
week I moved to California, not
1
knowing how to
million%,
handle the shock
absolutely.
of seeing call-out posts directed towards me, thinking my life was over and that there would be no way to survive, and that I should die as penance. So as I already mentioned, and as he mentions here for the first time, his ex-girlfriend wasn't the first post calling him out and seeking to expose who he was to the public. If he had chosen to ignore her post just like he had ignored all the other posts, then I don't think his career would have really been endangered. But it was too late for that now. He then continues, I survived it with the support of friends.
Yeah, I'm gonna be real, bro. When you get called out for doing something shitty, don't immediately pull the suicide card, bro. It's so fucking cringe. Like, Jesus. Guys, I'm gonna kill myself, so please accept my apology, because if you don't, my blood is on your hands. God, it's so cringe.
But then I chose never to.
Can you imagine what low-life rat fucking bastard would pull the suicide guys? People have to accept the apology, otherwise his blood is on their hands. Fucking insane.
Address the things that were said about me. They were people that were once my friends, significant others, people I looked up to, people who looked up to me, and all this time I stayed silent. However, the second time I felt suicidal was this past Monday night, a few hours before posting my apology to Amy. I had become so internally conflicted about if it was really the right thing to do or not. This time, not because of concern for it ruining my life, but because I wanted so badly to make amends and I didn't know if this would even be good enough. That if it was truly sign of me wanting to actually change for real. The pressure was a feeling I have never experienced in my entire life and I will never forget it. I overcame this feeling and solidified my decision with 100% certainty. I needed to speak from my heart, so I seized this newfound resolve and I went ahead and posted it. Please understand, the reason I'm sharing this information about my mental state is not in any way to garner sympathy or pity or appear as a victim. I am not the victim, I am the offender. I am sharing this information about the 2 moments I felt suicidal to illustrate that, while I haven't changed enough and it will absolutely not happen overnight, that the experience left a lasting impression on me that I am choosing to use in a positive way to really begin the change. I have wanted to become a better person for what feels like my entire life. It's not something that should be such a struggle, but somehow I've made it the most difficult thing in the world. I may have learned and developed and improved in some aspects, but not enough. The damage I've caused and the abusive acts I've committed towards people that I cared about is evidence of that. If I want to be a decent human being, this is all only part of the first step. I have a lot more work to do that I plan on diving into after I finish moving to a new house, but that's not the focus.
I don't care if some piece of shit motherfucker using suicide card, then so be it. Do a fucking flip. I'm waiting.
Because at this point,
Christ.
the point is, this is it. Taking responsibility
Jesus.
for all the things I've done is only the beginning. If this entire thing is still just part of the first step, I want to do it right, no matter what it takes. So then, he links all the individual apologies he has
ZZZ
made
background music.
to people who have come out talking about him and their terrible experience with
Jesus
him. Now,
Christ.
according to Twitter and many Tumblr comments, this is barely scraping the surface. But for the time being, let's just pretend like these are all the people that he abused over the years. Because I want to show you the variety here.
we really
okay, so the first
censoring the
one's
word
Amy, the
abuse?
person who made the post against him that we just finished reading. Former girlfriend and employed editor. Then you have Tara Welker, former friend. Then you have Audrey Kerr, former girlfriend and employed animator. Then you have Kaylin Denton, former friend and actor. Filthy Animal, former friend. John Markle, fellow animator and former fan. And then you have another former fan, Anthony Logato. So these people ranged from anything of being an ex-partner to a co-worker to fans, right? And of course, to friends. He then apologizes to his friends, his family, his fans, and says that he wants to use this space to cast an open call to anyone else that he's yet to address personally with a full apology. That he wants to do this until he makes amends with everyone he's affected over the years, and that he's not looking for forgiveness. He only hopes that he's taking the first true step to being a better person, and that he'll do his best to never let anyone else down or hurt anyone else he cares about ever again.
Yeah, and if you don't accept it, I'm gonna kill myself. So you do whatever you want with that.
So I have to mention this, right? Not only was this post deleted, I don't know when exactly, but it was deleted. Every single one of these individual apologies also have been deleted and don't exist anymore. For example, if I were to click on Amy's apology, it's gone. It doesn't exist anymore. But the internet does not forget. If I use the Wayback Machine, aka Web Archive, I can find every single one of these posts, and of course, every one of them is fairly lengthy. But for the sake of this video, I want to highlight one apology, right? You can check the other ones, I'm gonna link them in the description, but I wanna highlight one, which is the apology to his ex-girlfriend, the person who made the post we read initially, Amy. I think it's really important because it highlights who Chris is. He's gonna do this whole apology, and then his ex-girlfriend will actually respond in a very brutal way to his apology, to which he'll reply again. He's gonna get cornered, and you'll get to see how he acts when he is cornered. Because in the end, it's gonna be up to you to decide. You already know the drill. Let's do this. He starts.
Yeah, here's the crazy thing: when people post it on the internet and they think it's just gonna go away. Nope. The internet is forever, motherfuckers. It is forever.
It off by saying, Amy, I failed you. No amount of apology I could ever give will ever make up for that. You were justified to leave me.
Somebody's about to die with this
justified
post.
to cut ties with me. I was a terrible partner and I made you feel awful. Thus, the absolute least I can do is to take full responsibility for my actions and respond to your feelings openly. I failed in treating you with real respect. You should not have had to put up with my childish temper day in and day out, and it's even worse than it made you fearful. It was never my intention to manipulate you, but that's no excuse. It was my fault you were made to feel this way. I should have taken more responsibility for my toxic behavior and changed. You did not, at any point, ever deserve to be treated that way, because none of it was your fault. He then continues, I failed in listening to you. I deeply regret this because I feel I could have avoided so many of these problems if I had just really, truly listened, but I didn't. I wasn't there for you at a time when you needed me for emotional support over something as insignificant as a party and a long drive. I'm ashamed to have left my own partner alone when she asked me to be there for her. I was immature and selfish in how I never gave you enough of the space or personal time you needed, all while constantly bombarding you with my attention-seeking nonsense. My needy pining for not only your physical but emotional affection was so disrespectful, and the way I would immaturely express myself about it was pathetic. Most of all, I couldn't even respect your one request of me to lay off you when you would get home from work. I was supposed to care for you, and ultimately I acted spoiled and self-serving, putting myself before you. I failed at keeping your trust, the most important thing to me, the thing that our friendship was founded on well before our relationship. I ignorantly betrayed it. I never intended to mislead or keep anything from you, but it doesn't matter because a lie is still a lie, and I understand full well how much that hurt you. Once again, I was selfish and placed
I
several
really
other
don't know
people's
why we're
importance before
giving this
yours.
dude
You should have
so much
always been
time
my
to
number one
fucking
priority.
talk when
In
he's
addition,
already
I could
admitted
have
he's a
and
piece
should
of
have
shit.
trusted you more in return. My jealousy and paranoia of your own life choices ran out of control. I should have been more supportive to the life you were forming for yourself and not been so obsessed with having you just be a part of my life and my friends and my world. I failed at making you feel loved. This is exemplary of my lack of respect, my lack of listening, and my lack of trust. I thrust you into a completely new environment out of your comfort zone, all the while thinking that I was helping you when in reality I was mounting utterly unnecessary pressure on you. I would embarrass you like a complete idiot in front of both your friends and mine. I was impatient or understanding. I was ignorant and unfair to you. The amount of needless arguments I sparked when I should have just been calm and inviting was ridiculous. This was entirely on me. I thought that inviting you into my life and everything that came with it would be a heaven, but instead all my stupid actions made it into a nightmare. There's no excuse for the way I made you feel while you were living in what should have been a place of happiness. This is where it gets somewhat interesting because he's talking about one of the worst things in his ex-girlfriend's statement, which is him taking advantage of her while she was drunk. He says, there's one specific point that I wish to go into further detail on. Regarding what happened on your birthday, I never once believed I had any form of implied permission to do anything like that to you. Somehow this wasn't communicated properly, and I deeply apologize for that. I swear to you, I never thought that and never had had any intention of doing such a thing. Even that aside, while I know I have done a lot of horrible things, especially to you, I also know that I did not and would never, ever in my life try to sexually take advantage of anyone. But the fact that the takeaway from what I hoped was going to be a really special day for you is something as heinous as that, I have no words. I'm so sorry that I somehow gave you the impression that I had such intentions, and I'm sorry that I made you feel that way. Listen, I don't know why, but this just makes me laugh. I don't know, like, am I twisted? Am I crazy? I'm so sorry that I somehow gave you the impression, right? Like, like, look, there needs to be proof at a certain point when you are making such a big accusation, but the fact that her perspective differs so much from his perspective in this regard is crazy, right? Like, it's not even on the same wavelength. From his perspective, there was nothing indicating this. From her perspective, it was very clear to her, and it was one of the main reasons why she ended up breaking up with him. It's just crazy sometimes how the two sides of the same story can be so different. We'll revisit this later when she replies. He then continues in the post and says, with all of that said, the thing I'm most...
Yeah, he said she said scenarios are the most awful things to fucking engage in, and that's why I just try to avoid them at all costs.
...upset about is the fact that the impression I left on you during our time together is that I never really cared about you. That, more than anything, is why I failed you. I have no reason to blame you for feeling that way about me, and I'm deeply ashamed that I drove you to this. I couldn't even maintain what I genuinely wanted to be a close friendship, to just be someone who would at least be a positive influence in your life, breaking your trust even further by asking something as ridiculous as if you wanted to be friends with benefits, but then failing further and further with every opportunity I had to be a friend to you. I can't believe I did this. Just as much as you can probably never forgive me for any of this, I too may never be able to forgive myself either. He continues to self-admit that even though it wasn't his intention, there is no obliviousness to claim here. And this is something he'll mention a lot, his intentions, right? It wasn't my intention to do this. It wasn't my intention to come off like this. Well, what were your real intentions though? That's the question, right? Anyway, he says, I knew what I was doing, but realized far too late the full impact of my actions had on you time and time again. It doesn't matter how much I prattled on and on with excuses and justifications about how I was always trying to improve and learn from the mistakes I made. I should have paid closer attention. I should have worked hard to fix the issues we had, especially when you gave me so many chances. But I failed. If I could have been able to tell all this to you in person or over spoken word, I would have.
Okay, so here we go. The guy fucked up. We get it. Anyways.
This, of course, didn't go as smoothly as he had hoped. I'm sure he wanted to just make this apology and move on, but his ex wasn't just going to let him get through this as easily as he thought. Amy replied, saying, I read your post. I read it at least 5 times, in fact, and I am not impressed. This is an apology for being a bad boyfriend, not an abusive boyfriend.
True.
Did you even notice that the words abusive or abuse don't even come up in your post? Of course you did. You're trying to pass this off as you being subpar at relationships, and not the fact that you were emotionally abusive to me. You are dismissing the one thing people are concerned about.
True.
Claiming that what happened on my birthday was a miscommunication is a weak excuse. Very weak. If you really want to go there, I will remind you that on June 11th, 2018, after Sony's E3 conference, I was drunk and you wanted to have sex. We attempted, and I decided that drunk sex wasn't for me and said that I didn't wish to try that again. That was a rule we established. Drunk sex is off the table, and yet, on my birthday later that year, you saw how intoxicated I was and thought you could try it anyway. Miscommunication? No.
Yeah, get him!
Holy. Man, am I the only one who feels awkward when a public couple has beef online and exposes all their intimate secrets? No? You do too? No way.
No,
we
I'm
should
chilling.
be friends. Anyway,
personally.
she then continues, not to mention you completely glossed over the part about how you kept me hostage in your car in front of my office building. Out of everything, that was honestly the most horrifying thing you did to me. You forced me to do something I didn't want to do. I was too afraid to leave the car and go back to work because I thought you would follow me out and scream at me the whole way for all my coworkers to see. You took advantage of me in a place that I had but no choice to give you what you want. Do you not understand how fucking wrong that is? Why didn't you talk about this in your
because it doesn't make him look good. That's why I skipped the goddamn apology. It was
for years of
bullshit.
your extremely toxic behavior and acknowledge that you've hurt many people. I see that and recognize it, but I'm still not impressed. You are not taking full responsibility as you say you are. This reads like a post-messy breakup sob story. It is plain to see you are doing damage control and are hoping you can skate by this pitiful response you call an apology for your abusive behavior. This is exactly what I was afraid of. You are not going to change. You know the truth and are choosing to hide it, hoping you can just barely get out of this by the skin of your teeth. Is this really all you have to say? I wish you would not just apologize to me, but to all those you've hurt. Both you and I know who they are. You said that you would do anything to make it up to me. This is it. Please change my mind. So, holy shit, man, she dropped a nuke on his ass, right? His apology was completely rendered to ashes. His entire thing, everything he
nuked his ass!
And this is a good point. When you go back and read this, and then read what she had written here, all of a sudden you realize, wait a second, he didn't even mention half the things that occurred, and the ones he did mention...
Yeah, why the fuck do you think I skipped it? Because it was a bullshit, pussy-ass Ratsu response. It was garbage.
Definitely aimed to limit the details. So then, surprisingly, instead of ignoring her, he chose to reply. And he starts it off with,
oh my god.
Even in my wanting to set things right, I failed you yet again.
Shit.
I'm sorry. It's like, dude, you're 30 years old. What is this? A soap opera? A 15-year-old would write this. Come on, man, get to the point. He continues, I will be more explicit. You're right. This is not merely about being a bad partner, regardless of my intentions, my reasoning, my explanations. It does not change the fact that I was emotionally abusive to you and left lasting damage on you. It haunts me that I did this to you. Okay, progress. This is progress. He continues, I deeply apologize for not illustrating what I meant about your point regarding what I did during your birthday. Once again, I broke a boundary that you clearly set and I should have been aware of beyond a shadow of a doubt. I am mortified that I not only forgot to...
we're gonna skip this, guys. Yeah, no, I'm good. Anyways.
Every time you're cornered, this really doesn't help his case. Here, let me give you an example real quick. Boogie2988 had a crazy fall from grace, right? He's one of the OG YouTubers. He's been in a lot of controversy, but recently he tweeted out a crypto scam, supporting it. CoffeeZilla, an investigative YouTuber, reached out to him, asking him, hey man, are you aware this is a scam? Why are you doing this? And Boogie said, well, it's because I have cancer. It then turned out that the cancer...
Dude, you know what's crazy about Boogie? Because he got outed, lying about having cancer. He went live on stream and got his face tattooed with the word liar on it. Like, bro is crashing out 1,000,000%.
Was fake. Surprise, surprise. He then got on a podcast with Keemstar and a couple other people, and he got cornered. What happened then, you ask? Well, check this out. Near the end of the podcast, he felt so cornered that he left his chair, as you can see on the top left, that's him, and then makes his way back with a knife, threatening to hurt himself, okay? I don't know what this knife is. Is it a butter knife? I don't know, but that's what he did, making Keemstar leave the podcast. Was he actually going to hurt himself? Absolutely not. Did he get the reaction he was looking for? Yes. The problem of always saying you wanted to end your life, look, it sucks, all right? And of course, I can empathize. But at the same time, you genuinely did not have to mention this again.
True.
But it just seems like your ex was cornering your ass over your apology, coming in with a vengeance, and you felt so cornered over the fact that it was a half apology on your end that you had to just mention this again. People are...
And it's crazy. Who else did that, guys? Do we remember that? Oh, I got caught. Oh, I'm gonna commit suicide. You gotta listen to me now. Oh, very familiar. And you know what's crazy? People are just glazing over that, man. Well, he's just a silly little guy. Well, I'll just skim past that.
Are very well aware of the strength this phrase has. Like, oh, I tried to end my life. Everyone all of a sudden takes a step back. It's like, oh, no, we don't want that to happen. Wait. Maybe we can figure it out another way. Maybe we were too harsh on him. Because look, the truth of the matter is, yes, I laughed when I read this, okay? If he were to actually end his life tomorrow, I would be seen as a horrible person. That's what they're banking on when they say things like this. The fear that if he were to actually do it, I would look terrible. So I have to believe him and lay off and not give him any consequences. But while I would not want him to end his life, or anyone for that matter, I still have to call this out and say that this was so unnecessary to mention. Like, why are you mentioning this? If not for pity points, why is this here? You know, when I first started making this video, I wanted to stay neutral, but dude, what's the point, man? With things like this, what's the point? This is really stupid. 30-year-old man, by the way. Anyway, he continues. Not because I wanted to take the easy way out or give up, but because I was so conflicted over if this was truly the right thing to do or not, and if it was actually a real sign of me wanting to change and be better. I needed to have a friend over to watch me, and I fully intend to see my therapist again soon to talk about all of my issues, my suicidal thoughts, my treatment of women in general, my temper, and my journey.
How does the guy being shitty at dating affect his job, though? I don't understand. So there's a difference between being a bad boyfriend and an abusive boyfriend. And the other thing is, it's voice acting. It's really not that hard. You just get to talk. Okay, you just talk. And they say, oh yeah, we like your voice. So rather than give this dream job to some random motherfucker who abuses his girlfriend, we can give it to, I don't know, someone who maybe doesn't do that. Anyways.
Journey I need to continue on to finally be a decent human being. Again, I know this part of what I'm saying is about me and therefore to some extent selfish, but I swear this is about honesty and transparency about my intentions to set things right. Again, this whole paragraph, okay, you could delete it, it wouldn't matter, it wouldn't change anything, right? If anything, actually having this in your reply makes you look worse, like you're farming for pity, and as far as I can tell, that's exactly what you're doing. He continues, I'm going to apologize to all of the people I've hurt. I'm not expecting to change your mind in the process, nor is this solely for the sake of making it up to you alone. I will do whatever it takes to fix my mistakes. Thank you again for taking the time to read. So this whole thing was a roller coaster ride, right? And it prompted many people to see this and think, oh, this guy's a manipulator with the way he talks. He references the things that his ex-girlfriend is talking about in a very vague way, almost undermining them. And to many, this didn't really feel like an apology. Of course, in the grand scheme of things, this doesn't matter. What matters is what the victim thinks. And yeah, his ex-girlfriend, Amy, did not really see this as an apology. She saw this as very weak and that he could do way better. He then went on to apologize to other people, as I mentioned. I'm going to sum those up really quickly in an effort to not have this video end up being 6 hours long, but I still want you to have somewhat of a full picture on the scale of this. Audrey Carr is one of his exes. He says he's been a terrible partner to them, an even worse friend, and he vaguely references the things he did, kind of similar to Amy, where he put a lot of stress and anxiety on her and didn't treat her with the love she treated him. Interestingly enough, this is someone who forgave him after their relationship, but then grew to distance themselves from him again because of actions he had done. Another person here was Kaylin Denton, someone who had stated previously that Chris should acknowledge his wrongdoings publicly. He apologizes for being extremely toxic, very unpleasant to be around, an absolute egomaniac, etc., etc. It's interesting because Kaylin actually responded to this. You can't see this here, but you can see this on this website. I don't even know what this is, but thank you to my viewer, Vampish Mick, who sent it to me. Otherwise, I would have never found it. What we can find here is Kaylin responding to this whole apology and saying, the fact that you had to unblock me for me to even be able to respond to this post should be a good indicator as to how this apology landed on my ears. It then says, thank you for apologizing to me, but I'm also a person who doesn't need an apology, not from you. I called you on all of this ages ago, and I knew I was right then. Your confirmation of that fact now does little to impress. He then goes on to say that this was a first good step, but he had many things left to do to truly try and redeem himself, saying, why were so few people included in your apologies? Where are your responses to the droves of people who you let defend you publicly when you stayed quiet in the wake of the callouts against you? This is referring to how people called him out in the past, he stayed silent, and let his fans bombard them online. And then says, if you want my honest opinion, which I've always given to you, it is that I think you're not sorry, but you're finally scared. I think that this is all done to keep your job. So overall, while he was thinking he was doing the right thing apologizing, they ended up doing way more harm to him and his reputation than good. He apologizes to a friend, Filthy Animal, who he hasn't talked to for over 10 years, for being insensitive, selfish, manipulating, and a bunch of other things, right? He then goes on to do the same thing with John Markle, Anthony
Problem is, do you believe what Twitter is doing with regards to Aiden Rudd and Sunday VA is correct in what they are doing? I mean, I understand he was bad, but why not give him the chance? 5 years is a long time. I'm just not wondering if toxicity of Twitter was justified, especially where basically calling cancellation and sending death threats, not just him, but Sam VA and Sunday VA. Okay, so I'm going to break this down for you, okay? And I'm going to say this one final time. Death threats, bad. I'll be real. I feel like people don't really know what a real death threat is, though, okay? Like, I've gotten real death threats, saying, people coming to my house, taking photos of my front door and say, if you play Genshin Impact again, I'm going to kill you, right? Like, that's like a real death threat. Going online and saying, kill yourself, right? That's just league all chat, to be honest, right? So let's just make sure we got that shit out of the way. Second of all, it was 5 years ago. Okay, well, you know what didn't happen 5 years ago for a lot of other people who have perfectly justified and capable for the job? Not what he did. So how about we just hire those other people? Because I promise you, sounding a certain way really isn't that hard. The majority of voice acting is RNG and hope that you have good fucking pipes. So just hire another guy to talk, right? It's kind of that easy. Here's a better idea. Give Sayu every role in the fucking game. Okay? Give him every role in the fucking game. Hit, ha, ha! Like, just talk. Okay? Just fucking just talk, right? I do it every day. Anyways, just go live and play video games, guys. You're a streamer.
Legato, and Tara Welker. Tara Welker in particular, he had a very lengthy history with. This honestly can be a separate fucking video by itself, but just know, even though he wrote—
Yeah, I'll be real. I would rather somebody just use AI than use someone who's like done shitty things in the past. Am I crazy for that? I don't know.
this entire thing and then replied to her reply on Twitter. She still does not forgive him one bit, and she hates his guts, all right? This whole thing was very significant. It was crazy, right? This dude had pretty much admitted many things that were a colossal nuclear bomb, right? The fact that he's 30 years old, saying that this is the first time he's doing the right thing in his life, the fact that he's done this for over a decade to colleagues, friends, ex-partners. You didn't need any proof. He was admitting it himself. No one hacked his computer. No one put him at gunpoint. He was writing all these things. And honestly, they made him look way worse than the accusations. Who the hell says this is the first time I'm doing the right thing in my life when you're 30 years fucking old? It's just crazy. But regardless, Chris did still try, according to himself and some of his coworkers in the industry. A bit more than a year later, on November 19th, 2020, he made this post saying, "Just want to share my final piece and then move forward. Over the last year or so, I have put my full focus into rehabilitating myself into a better person and more recently to heal the pain of the people I had hurt." He said that he participated in various emotional cognitive therapy programs, anger management, psychiatry, self-help books, and even medication, and he's confident that he is not the same person that he was before, that he can't undo his past mistakes, and that it's because of this newfound empathy that he has been able to better identify, acknowledge, and rectify these mistakes. That he wants to take full responsibility to heal the pain of the people he had hurt and to validate their feelings, to listen, and to apologize. He then says that he recognizes that he contributed to the scale of the online scandal by publishing details of his personal matters. Oh yeah, he did. That he communicated reactively and emotionally and was at times even hyperbolic with his words. As a result, he says that he allowed the internet to distort the truth, which not only resulted in personal suffering, but created suffering for others related to the situation by extension. So here he feels the need to rectify this point, to really make it clear: I have never raped anyone, I have never beaten anyone, I have never stolen money or jobs from someone else.
Well, that's good.
I am
Well, that's great. Okay, great. Awesome.
not a criminal, period. He ends it by saying, "I'm still working hard to improve. I am not who I was a year ago. I'm capable of change. I am not beyond redemption. I am worthy of living. I'm not going to give up. I am going to keep going." So some other voice actors that even I recognize came out in support of him, right? Saying things like, "I've seen how much you've changed and I'm so proud of the work you've put in." You know, Aiden Rudd, for example, is someone who voices Sam in Honkai Star Rail. Some of his fans are also very proud of him, and some other people couldn't believe a single word he said. They still were against him, no matter what. You also had Zeno Robinson, who had voiced in some big productions as well, quote tweeting this, saying, "Chris has been working incredibly hard to make amends, heal, and improve. I've watched him try to answer every single person he's hurt and really, really try to do better. He's definitely made huge mistakes, but maybe this can help clarify some things and help him start over." And I should mention too that one of the people that was in support of this was also Alejandro Saab, aka Sayu. The tweet isn't there anymore though, it was deleted. He explains that in his VOD, which we'll get to later. In any case, after this post, he slowly started making his comeback to the voice acting industry. While the online community wasn't fully convinced, it seemed that his coworkers and employers were. Now, is that because he told them the whole truth, or is that because he left some things out? I don't know, but he was making his comeback regardless. Looking at his IMDb, ever since 2019, he's had minor roles for the most part. You know, he was an NPC in Genshin Impact in 2020.
What do you mean
he was in
minor
a few roles
roles?
in 2021, but then truly made his comeback in 2022, right? So a couple of years ago, he was in a few animes, and then in 2023 was also in quite a few animes up until his big break, which was Honkai Star Rail. Guys, you have to understand.
Yep.
The reason why this is a very big deal is because
Huge.
many voice actors have actually made their entire careers over being in a Hoyoverse game, whether it be Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, or now Zenless Zone Zero. These games are a very big deal. They have taken voice actors from being regular voice actors to public personalities, people people who can stream, make YouTube.
Yeah, unfortunately, anybody who's a voice actor in Honkai Star Rail has now become a prominent figure of the community, which is just about the worst shit ever because there are just so many fucking virtue signalers that pander to Twitter. And it's fucking cringe, guys. I'm gonna just say it. I think it's so fucking cringe. They pander to these parasocial people that actually think that they're the real characters in the fucking game, and with titles like I am insert character name. Oh, come watch blank play as blank. Oh my god, it's so fucking lame.
Videos, people with a following, celebrities. This is a very, very big deal.
This is the person that has a problem with me, guys. Read their username out loud. Right here. This is the person that has a problem with me. Man, I am so glad you have an issue with me.
So after all these years in 2024, this signified his full comeback into the voice acting industry. But of course, as soon as that announcement was made, some people were starting to kind of question, wait a second, is that the same Chris Niosi I know? So news articles were made about him, referencing the things that we just saw, talking about them, but you know, with less detail. That's where I come in to give you the full story, baby, hell yeah. This is where things get very nasty and very tricky. The day after Moe's was announced for Honkai Star Rail, Sayu tweets out, just got back on Twitter, okay, series talk tomorrow on stream, love you guys. So around 14 minutes in his VOD titled, The World Needs Tech Support, and yes, I do voice in Zenless Zone Zero, he starts talking about it, right? This is what he says.
Anyway. 4 years ago, I commented on a situation I didn't know about. Like some of you guys, I'd heard about some of the accusations about Chris in 2019. I knew he'd admitted they were true, and I knew he promised he'd do therapy, and I believed that. I believed him, and when he said to me he had apologized to the people who he wronged and had been forgiven. And I want to make this clear, the only people who can forgive or not forgive Chris are his victims. I can't forgive him for them. That's not how that works.
Yeah.
Okay. But when I heard they had, and that they supported his growth, I thought, oh, good. That's what I wanted my tweet to be. My encouragement to keep doing the work and trying to grow, if that's what had brought his victims some peace, then great. I posted it, and then I didn't keep a close eye on the situation at all. I thought everything was fine. I thought it was okay.
Okay, I'm gonna be real, man. I'm in full support of Sayu. Generally, he's a pretty good guy, but having Mashoko Tensai B-roll in the back of all this shit is just insane, because, you know, the show's a little weird, you know, but okay.
Until literally, like I said earlier, so many of you guys tagged me, and that's on me. I didn't know he hadn't spoken to many of the victims. I didn't know he hadn't been forgiven. I generally didn't know about half the things he'd been accused of, and again, that's on me for not doing my part and researching more, which is a pattern of mine, unfortunately. Ignorance is bliss, right? And look, I know we talk about how this is a space to escape from the real world and just have a good time. But at times, we gotta acknowledge the real world.
So that was what he had to say, right? He had come out and
I think people saying that the internet is a place to escape the issues of the real world is a little bit delusional. I understand, but that's not the only reason why you use the internet, right? I don't really think it's responsible to just ignore everything negative in the world and act like nothing's wrong. What I think is better is simply addressing them and state an alternative or provide a solution for people to actually feel better rather than just ignore all your problems and play video games. But, you know, to each their own, obviously.
Report of him seeking therapy and everything, especially like after his post in 2020. He had even made a tweet about it, but here's what he had to say
I like
about
talking about the issues personally.
So, I deleted my tweet so it can't be used in any way. I'll be handling anything else going forward privately, but I just wanted to say that I'm sorry for breaking your trust.
Right, so I don't have to, thankfully, I don't have to do the web archive thing where I try to seek out one tweet he made in 2020. Look, he admitted it. He said he had made a tweet in support of him, and he had deleted it so that no one uses it, I guess, in a video like this.
Smart.
But again, as he mentioned, he didn't know about half the things that Chris had done, and this goes to show that maybe he had not told the full truth to some of his coworkers that do openly support him. In any case,
Fair.
He apologizes profusely to his community, and
that's why I really don't believe in the AoE effect that the internet really likes doing. Like, well, your friend did this and you must have known and you're just as bad as him. Like, I just don't believe that mentality at all. I mean, people are very good at hiding shit. Like, I'll be real. I got tons of friends. They don't know how big my dick is, right? Sometimes people hide things. Imagine that. Now, when they find out, they're going to be very impressed.
And then around the 20-minute mark, ends up breaking down crying. Okay, I don't think it'll really help in any way to include this in my video. I'd rather not, but you can easily tell that this really got to him. And this sucks because Alejandro's position in general is something he didn't really ask for. He has been given the title of the voice actor spokesperson involuntarily, just because he holds so much influence, right? 300,000 followers on Twitch, 200,000 followers on Twitter. Whenever a big problem happens, as I mentioned, people go to him first to ask him, right? When Elliot Gindi, the insane creep who was a Genshin voice actor, got outed and fired immediately, everyone went to Alejandro to ask him what he thinks. Whenever a controversy happens, everyone goes to him. This is no different. So that definitely gets to him sometimes. But he had told us his stance. He didn't know the whole truth, and he does not support anything Chris Niosi stands for. And while I thought that this was going to be one-sided, that everyone would all of a sudden turn around and go up against Chris, I was proven very wrong by this Reddit post that was made by Sunday's voice actor, a major character in Honkai Star Rail. This Reddit post was made on r/Honkai Star Rail and was titled English Voice Actor for Sunday Responds to Chris Niosi Controversy. Now, of course, this could be someone impersonating him, right? Because he is someone who doesn't really frequent the internet so much. But I verified the user, and he has done a verified AMA on r/Anime Dubs, right? This is actually his real account. Here's what he had to say. Hi, my name is Griffin Puatu. I'm the English voice actor for Sunday in HSR. I wanted to make a post here regarding the Chris Niosi situation.
Oh, no.
Back in 2019, ex-girlfriends and former friends of Chris accused him of sexual, emotional abuse, and more. Those accusations were responded to by Chris, who owned up to and apologized for the things he actually did, while also correcting the record for what he did not do. No criminal charges have ever been brought against him, and over the past 5 years, Chris has struggled to improve himself and right those wrongs, while slowly trying to regain his ability to work again. During that time, Chris has earned the support of many of his colleagues, both privately and publicly. He has been hired by multiple studios for work in between then and now, even after facing consequences, firings, and blacklists for what he did. He has been hired by multiple studios for work in between then and now, even after facing consequences, firings, and blacklists for what he did. The reason why? Many of us had front row seats to everything that happened, and know that Chris has apologized, changed, and grown. We are happy he is working again and gets to pursue a living for himself in an industry that he loves dearly. If the people hurt by Chris believe he is undeserving of forgiveness or that he hasn't changed at all, then that's on them. Some of those people forgave him, some didn't. They have every right to feel however they feel, but that doesn't make it true, and it certainly doesn't give them the right to dictate whether or not Chris ever gets to work again. If your view is that no amount of change—
I don't know about that. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know about— Yeah, if the people didn't forgive him for what they did to him, that's their fault. Yeah, I don't know about this one, man.
Your apology is enough to forgive someone who's wronged you, and that you have the power to decide whether or not the individual gets to earn a living or not, then you're an unreasonable person.
If your view is that no amount of change or apology is enough to forgive someone who's wronged you, and that you have the power to decide whether or not that individual gets to earn a living or not, then you're an unreasonable person. No. I feel like that's pretty based. Just get a different fucking job. Get a different fucking job, man.
Those of us who have watched his journey from cancellation to growth and redemption, we believe in him. We've seen him changed, we've watched him take all of the right steps, not knowing if it would make a difference or get him his career back, but because it was the right thing to do. During that time, he's been hired back for roles at multiple studios, while other voice actors who faced cancellation have not. Why? Because his situation is different from theirs and warranted welcoming him back. My hope and voicing support for Chris is to broaden the discussion and provide another side to the story. Right now, Twitter/X is drowning in negativity, with death threats and calls for his firing running rampant. This type of toxic discourse is why I left the platform back in 2023 and no longer post there. I keep an account to respond to casting calls and auditions for my job, but I refuse to add fuel to the heaping trash fire that it is. I know posting this puts me at risk for the same sort of vitriol that Chris is facing right now. I don't care. I would rather stand up for my colleague than remain silent.
Hey, great, man. You only lost 3 roles due to this post. Damn, bro. Hope it was worth.
I don't know if there's much more for me to say beyond this. I'm sorry if I do not respond to your comments. I have tried to be as thorough as possible with this post. Judge its validity for yourself. Thank you for being so supportive as a fan base up until now. I'm sorry if this changes your view of me, but I felt in my heart of hearts—
Is he still voicing Sunday or no?
Understand. When this was posted, guys, this blew the hell up, okay? This is— I can't state to you how big this blew up, okay? This was made 21 hours ago at the time of me recording this, okay? He has since edited this. We will get to this, but before he edited this, the comments were not what he was expecting. But most of them stated that they didn't even know who the voice actor was. How this was doing the opposite of what the poster had intended. This was actually bringing their attention to an issue that they didn't even know was an issue. Hoyo, after the Natland controversy, I got one more in me. I wanted to make a video about the Natland controversy, but, this was definitely higher on the priority list, I think. Hi, Mr. Griffin. I'd like to just say that in most industries, it's considered wildly unprofessional to use a company platform as your personal soapbox, aka saying, hey guys, this is Sunday's voice actor speaking. If your secret purpose was to raise awareness and get people to stare shit against Chris, then good job, because it was definitely not something I knew about until this post. And then you look at this, Mugen be like, I died, bro. I died when I saw this, man. Hey, shout out Fruit Punch Samurai. Thank you, bro. Thank you. Hey, thank you. Another 3-hour video for Mugen. Can't wait, to be honest. I love them. Man, oh, I love the HSR community. What the f? You guys are amazing. Back to being serious, because this is a serious topic. As you can see, the comments range from I had no clue what the hell was happening, but now I'm aware, thank you, I guess, to what the hell did you just say? Now, after this whole controversy was unfolding, obviously, this post has, let's check it out. Let's go to old.reddit to see the upvote percentage of this post. And here you go, 54% upvoted at 1,300 upvotes, right? This is definitely a controversial post.
That is not that good, guys.
Update one day before I upload the video. It's currently sitting at 50% upvoted and down to 644 points. People have been downvoting this post like crazy, especially with how much.
It's because these fucking drones read the first sentence like, oh my God, Sunday left a message. Oh, he's so cool. I want to fuck his sister, right? Instead of actually reading what he actually said.
Much attention it's been garnering. Thought you'd want to know about that. Anyway, back to the original video. He ended up making an edit. And here we go. Hey guys, this is the last thing I'll say in regards to this post. Things have clearly gotten heated and I want to clarify some things before moving on. First, I am not blaming the victims for anything. All I said is that it's on them whether or not to forgive Chris or believe he's changed for the better. However, I don't believe they get to decide whether he works again or not. Second, I am not trying to apologize on Chris's behalf. Chris owned up to what he did 5 years ago in a public post. He also denied the things he did not do.
Did your Chris Tyson video get demonetized?
Yeah, Twitter, and I couldn't stand by and watch him get piled on with no one defending him. I thought that by posting here in long form, it would open the door to more nuanced and detailed discussion. I was wrong. At the very least, I need to apologize for stirring things further with what I said. However, I don't think staying silent would have been right either. I completely agree that this should have nothing to do with me or you. This should be between Chris and his exes/former friends. But all of this was made public 5 years ago by the people involved. It affects the fans, the people who work with him, all of us. We should be able to discuss these things civilly, openly, and honestly. But the more time I spend on the internet, the more I realize that isn't possible here. This isn't the town square or a place to discuss things freely or openly. These sites only serve to ratchet up our emotions, whatever they happen to be, and clearly this is an emotionally charged situation. The truth is, none of us know each other. We all judge each other blindly, yet regard one another with the familiarity of a neighbor, friend, or enemy. And then ends it by saying, I wasn't trying to change anyone's opinion, though it seems I've changed plenty of your opinions of me. If you truly believe I'm acting inappropriately or unprofessionally, I don't know how to refute or agree with you. You can't see my intent, nor the tone of my voice. You can only trust my word. Same goes from me to you. That probably makes it difficult or impossible to trust me or anything we see on the internet. I don't know. I have no idea how to navigate any of this. I did what I felt was right. That doesn't make it so, but it's the best any of us can do. So look, one thing is obvious.
Bro goes live with the post victim blaming, saying, yeah, this guy sexually abused you, but if you can't forgive him, that's your fault. Professional dumbasses, man. I mean, hey, well, I was just a widow accident. Like, these people are so stupid, it's insane.
Way outside of his element here, right? PR
like,
is a
bro,
very
just shut your
public
fucking
image
mouth,
and
because
public
if you're
relations,
quiet,
everything
nobody
about
knows you're
this is
stupid.
an
When you open it,
extremely tough
everybody
nut to
will.
crack. And unless you are chronically online or have been doing it for a long time, it's very hard to make a post like this that will actually have somewhat of the results you're expecting. Griffin was completely blindsided here and ended up making the situation a gazillion times worse.
Oh yeah.
This post has made it so much worse for Chris. It's insane. You have 786,000 members on the subreddit, and many of them who are online have been alerted to this. And
the worst thing is, these aren't normal people, these are Redditors. And if you alert a Redditor, they will talk about you for fucking ever.
Had no clue about it beforehand. And look, what Griffin was trying to do is stand up for a friend. Man, that's very admirable, but the problem is, his wording was so terrible, it was so dog shit, that he ended up making himself seem like he's the same apple as Chris. They're both from the same tree. This is overall a really screwed up situation. Griffin has already suffered his first consequence for coming out in support of Chris, losing a role in a project he was on. This happened in less than 24 hours of him making the Reddit post. Things were starting to get real. Alice Homura, who voices another major character in Honkai Star Rail, the character Robin, who ironically is Sunday's sister in-game, made a subtweet on the situation saying, to say I'm thoroughly disgusted is an understatement.
Yep.
Following it up with her announcing that she's taking a break from Twitter. Kyle McCarley, a successful voice actor in the English dubbing industry, tweeted this in reply to Honkai Star Rail's tweet announcing Mose as a character. He said, Chris Niosi is not a monster, he was a bad boyfriend, and he martyred himself in the court of public opinion for it. And then when you click on it, here's what you see. This post is from an account that no longer exists. That's right. He deleted his Twitter account shortly after. This again did not help Chris. Just like Griffin's post on Reddit, this didn't help Chris. Even if you wanted to defend him because you truly felt like that was the right thing to do, this action right here, deleting your account as soon as you got backlash in your replies, doesn't help at all.
True.
He had specified in his Discord that this wasn't him undermining the victims. It's just that cancel culture has been getting out of hand and that he didn't want this to happen to someone he's seen change so much over the years.
Yeah,
As I said, this really didn't help the situation.
Yeah, there we
Not many people
go.
even got the chance to see what he said in Discord, so does it really matter? Look, objectively speaking, this isn't just another case of someone being canceled out of the blue. This isn't like South Korean cancel culture, right? Where someone's being canceled, people want to end their careers because they started dating someone, okay? Chris, over the years, had many people, co-workers, colleagues, friends, whatever, come out
Fucking
to say how
fans.
toxic, how abusive, how unpleasant of a person he is. He chose to ignore all of them, and
It also would have been way different if it was like he said, she said. But he made it fact when he admitted that he did all of it, which is insane.
as far as we know, it didn't affect his career. Because guess what? It was he said, she said. There was no proof. And I think it's safe to say that in 2019, when Amy, his ex-girlfriend, wrote up the post calling him an abusive boyfriend, the same thing would have happened if he didn't respond, but he chose to respond. And in his response, he ended up making himself look a million times worse.
Oh, yeah.
This is simply about someone who was in a position of power and chose to use that power to commit malicious deeds. Does that mean that he should never hold another job in his life? No. But at the same time, would it be too crazy to assume that some people would just not want to have someone like that in their favorite game? I don't think so.
Or in their fucking workspace? Yeah, I mean, dude, do people not get how many people want to be a fucking voice actor? Like, it's a very, very, very small community. And I feel like it's not that crazy to kick somebody out of their dream job because they did something shitty and give it to a normal guy who it's also their dream job.
And this leads me to Hoyoverse with their
Because it's such a fucking boys club.
infinite budget and the infinite talent pool available to them for voice actors. It just really, really perplexes me as to why they would go with Chris out of all people. I do need to specify here, though. This is not Hoyoverse's fault. This is the agency they hired. This is the studio or whatever that they chose to hire to pick out their talent.
Yeah, but it's also the studio they hired.
At a certain point, there was a controversy in which voice actors weren't being paid for their work in Hoyoverse games. Hoyoverse wasn't even aware of this. This was
Hoyoverse needs to be aware of the companies they hire.
fully on the studio. But regardless, the responsibility does fall upon them because
Yes, it
that's who they're
does.
hiring, right?
Yes,
and
it
unfortunately,
does.
whenever you hire someone like that, you are tainting the reputation of anyone else who has voiced for your game. And
Yep.
there's many very talented and cool people who voice for characters here. Why would you take this risk? Why would you do that to yourself? So they have to be very careful with this. Look, I find it admirable that even though it was a very big risk, you had friends of Chris who defended him throughout this whole thing. Sure. But my question is, were they
Horrendous Tectone take L. Okay, well, let's talk about it. So tell me why a multi-billion-dollar company is not responsible for the employees they hire. Why do you think background checks exist? Why do you think credentials are important? Do you think a principal shouldn't be responsible if a teacher touches a kid? How'd they get the job? They should be reprimanded 1,000,000%. 1,000,000%. And you are too stupid to type a coherent sentence faster than 18 fucking hours. Dumb motherfucker.
doing it because they truly saw a change over the years and truly recognized that this is a different person, or
The VA studio or Hoyoverse didn't fire him from Major he stepped down his role. Yeah, it's even worse.
were they misled, like Sayu, who didn't even know half the stuff that Chris had done? I don't know. But I'm not about to send any hate brigades originating from this video, right? So we're not going to sit here and theorycraft about that. It is completely up to you, the viewer watching right now, to make up your opinion on that. I think you can still make up your opinion even though I wasn't fully neutral halfway through the video, but can you blame me, dude? Come on.
Then what about Mr. Beast talking about the principal analogy? Absolutely. Mr. Beast deserved to be reprimanded 1,000,000%. But in the same vein as the principal thing, the principal should 1,000,000% be reprimanded and criticized for their ill intentions and their very loose hiring policy, the same way that Mr. B should also be reprimanded for, hey man, that's your man for years and you knew it. Or at least felt it. And they are in some way responsible. Obviously, they shouldn't be punished to the same extent as the person who obviously committed the act, but they should definitely be told, hey, you fucked up. Abso-fucking-lutely.
As always, I just hope that in the process, no one gets hurt. I think we have enough victims in this situation. What a mess this is, dude. Can we just go 1 week without something like this happening, please? Thank you so much for watching. If you watched the whole thing, as always, you're insane, and I love you, and I'll see you the next time I upload, whenever that is. Yeah. Mwah.
This situation was a fucking mess, and I'm not gonna lie, dude. This was so much yapping, it was ridiculous. Regardless, Mugen makes so many good videos, it's insane. Like, his videos are so fucking fire. If you guys want to go like it, you're more than welcome to. Jeez, that was my least favorite Mugen video, though. I'll be real. That was just so much yapping. Bro gave way too much screen time to the piece of shit. Like, he should have just summarized it. Maybe I'm crazy. That was just way too much screen time. Regardless, good video, Mugen. Appreciate you, dog. I'm out. Peace.